So, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Donald Neal. Um, uh, I sculpt and I paint, and I'm an average artist.
Um, how old were you when you decided that art was going to be an active part of your life?
I think I was like crawling even. I used to, as a little boy, I used to play with tar that dropped off the roof of our house. And when my mama would leave me out to play, I'm playing with the tar and I'm actually making things out of it as a little kid, as a little baby doll, a baby almost. And I guess about 7, I think 7, I started going to the high school for art in what grade is it? 7th grade, I guess. No. 6th grade, 5th grade, 5th grade. I was in the 5th grade when I started going to high school for art, and among the other artists, the other students, I was like the best of them, and I'm in grade school, and the teachers would even challenge me, and I usually won as a little kid. Weird.
Did you have a favorite teacher?
Um, yeah, Mr. Garrett and Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams helped paint that the mural out here in the front of this building. He painted that. He helped paint it.
How would you describe yourself as a person and as an artist? Is it one and the same, or is it two separate lives?
It's somewhat separate, but because I never talk about art to my friends, and most of them don't really they don't see my work as I'm doing it, and so it's kind of separate. But I'm always thinking art though, at, at every second. And when I wake up in the mornings, I go straight to art. I don't do anything but art for maybe 30 minutes, and then I start realizing what all I got to do and try, to start doing some other stuff. But immediately I go to art.
How would you describe your art process? Like, is that how you do your art in 30-minute chunks?
What I do, I usually paint maybe 2 paintings or, at the same time, maybe 3 sometimes. And when I do that, my brain is just jumping from each picture to separate to different pictures, and that's normally the way I like to do it. I love jumping from one picture to another and changing my brain up a little bit and thinking of what to do here and then what to do there. I don't like to stay on one picture the whole time I'm working on it.
Is sculpting any different?
Sculpting, that's what I did when I was a baby, and so that's really my love. I don't like to paint at all, period. I paint only because I can paint, and I don't like it at all. But anyway, sculpting to me is not working at all, period. And I'll work on a sculpture until you make me stop. And I'll overdo it. That's one reason why my sculpting and, uh, is as good as it is because I won't stop till you stop me, period. And it ended up going further and further. And the style that I do allows you to work overtime if you want to. You can't go wrong with it. But with painting, of course, you have to stop at a certain point, and if you don't, you're going to overwork it and destroy the painting. So sculpting allows you to do it however long you want to do it, and I just love it anyway.
So in school, did you study art like after high school, or did you
Okay,
pursue it on your own?
a little bit of a history of that. I started going to the high school, excuse me, for the art period. I would go to the high school and take high school level, and then go back to the grade school after that. The painting, the drawing, the art period was over. Excuse me. And then in the 10th grade, I started going to the college for special classes. Also, I took a lot of adult classes, and I met a few famous painters that gave me tips and stuff. And so I never really learned that much. It's going to sound funny a little bit, I guess. But I never really learned that much from those people because I kind of already knew it. And it's like an intuitive type thing in my head that I already know it before I do it. I don't know what to call it, but like any style that I do, most times I'm doing it for the first time and I don't do it again. And so, and usually it looks as if that's the only style that I do, because I do it good enough that you would be fooled by it in terms of thinking that that's all I do. So I'm kind of like so versatile that I don't know how versatile I am actually. I don't know how much more do I know. I'm bragging a lot. But
Do you still create art for the same reasons you did when you were younger, or has that changed?
um, when I was younger, I would paint all day, every day. I would paint on anything. That's because I was learning uh, uh, about how good that I can paint, and so I'll just paint. And I started getting real early in this. I started getting. I wasn't able to win awards and stuff, but even though my work was the best of them, but I didn't win, and there's a lot of prejudice came. I hate to bring it up, but a lot of prejudice is when you're that good as I'm supposed to be, as I was probably. Bad things happen in painting, and so I learned. Well, I didn't like painting for a while because it never did anything for me. It only just gave me pain in the case of I'm not winning the competitions because they assumed that an adult artist did it, and so I never won the competitions that I entered, and that was painting, and so I have a bad taste about painting. That made me not like to paint too much, but I still paint, and every once in a while I like what I'm painting, but very seldom, and I won't paint unless you make me literally. You give me a job to paint it, I'll paint, but I don't paint for recreation. I do sculpting, and I never tire from the sculpting.
This might be a vague question, but what does art mean to you? Like, is it important? Is it like?
Well, art to me is pain is in my veins. Period. It's all I think about all day, every day. I very seldom go to whatever I'm looking at. I'm thinking of an idea for it, and so I'm just totally art, pure art. In other words, I love it.
So it's both like a passion and something that like you focus on.
It's somewhat of I guess it's a passion, but I know it is my talent. It's totally natural for me, and that's all I do is art. Nothing but art. Just to add more to it, I like looking at other artists' works, and if I had any spare time for myself, it would be doing art or horseback riding. I like to ride horses too.
Do you have any favorite artists?
Salvador Dali, I put on the top of my list. Contemporary artists in terms of my teachers, Mr. Williams and also Emmanuel Garrett. Those are the living artists. Well, the one has died, but those are the artists that I was inspired by as a kid, mostly Salvador. And I want it to be better than Michelangelo and Leonardo. So they inspire me also. They're the ones I'm trying to catch up with. I want to beat them.
Is there anything you would like a viewer of your art to know about you or the art itself?
Um, Most of my paintings, when I do them, I have an idea about it, about the subject for it. Like I want to paint a flower. And so I start painting that flower. I don't know what the end is going to be. I never really know. I never want to know the whole picture. I want the picture to just come out of me. And so I'll start off thinking about one picture particularly in terms of how it's going to look. But as I start doing it, it starts changing, and I just let it go where it's going to go. And most times you're making a lot of mistakes. Even though the paintings look good, the best of the paintings is when you've made a mistake and you get to go somewhere with your brain that you didn't know you'll go. So mistakes are really good. I talk about that all the time. Whenever I'm interviewed, I talk about mistakes being the best thing that could happen to you.
When you make a mistake, do you like repaint the whole painting, or do you try to?
No, it diverts you a little bit. Where you knew you were going, now you just go wherever it takes you. And it's exciting because you don't know where it's going to take you. And you're going to continue making mistakes throughout the painting in terms of not getting what you actually want. But then you have to go in the direction that it's going, and you end up with a really, really good picture when that happens. You're hating it when it goes wrong. Though. You really do hate it. You go to cursing or whatever. But later on, you go back to it, and then you find that it's a better picture as to what you thought to do with the mistake.
Do you have a favorite painting in this room that you'd like to talk about? And we can move forward.
Okay. You want to go to the picture?
Yeah, we can.
Most favorite painting, period. I don't think I'll ever top it. I don't think I'll ever do this again, period. Excuse me. Talk about when I was told to paint this picture by a gallery asked me to paint a lady, life-size. And so they gave me 1 week to do it. And I tried to do it as fast as I could. It was terrible. I took it to them anyway, and they rejected it and told me to take it back home. And so I started working on it some more. And as I'm working on it, it then became Eve. It was just a white woman that they wanted that would be nude, and she would have a towel in front of her. And so I started with the hand here holding a towel. And so gradually it started to change and became what it is now. And it's actually Eve, Adam and Eve, but the painting is called Eve. Adam is so minimal there that you don't really see him until you look at the painting for a while.
Do you think most of your paintings are religious-based?
Only maybe 3 of them that I've painted. I've painted thousands of paintings, but 3 of them are definitely religious in their when I approach them. In fact, I didn't know when I'm doing them, I never know they're going to be religious until I get in to a certain point, and then I start doing things to it that I don't have the knowledge of. And so then I start realizing it's got to be God telling me to do it, because I actually do not know what I'm doing. And I'll paint, like this particular picture is the one that really God painted. I didn't paint this at all. It sounds crazy, but I won't be ashamed to tell you that I think God did it. He gave me my talent, evidently, of course, but he actually painted this. And so everything on here I was told to put there. And when I put them there, I didn't know what their meanings were. And people, as I'm painting it, people would come and just stand and they'll look at the painting and they'll say, "Oh, you did this," and tell me what it is. I don't know until they tell me. This feather is a good example of that. A girl came in and she says, the angel let them out of the Garden of Eden. I did not know it, but I put the feather there. One of the things one more thing. David, when I put him here, I did not know he was in the Bible, and I already had decided to put him there. I was I decided to put him there a year before I put him on there. And it took years to do this painting, by the way. Now, these people particularly represent us coming from Adam and Eve. And they're bathing themselves. I didn't know that until somebody pointed it out to me. And there's sevens everywhere on here. If you have a count to do, it's going to either be 10, 3, or 7. And the sevens are on here 32 times, I think. I have to recount it, but I think it's 32 times that it's on there. And the 3 is Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, which are that's God up here, and that's the Holy Ghost that's holding Jesus. And you have to go through Jesus to get to the Holy Ghost. And then, of course, if you don't make it, here comes the devil. And the devil is coming out of the depths of the water. I did not know that that's the way he's supposed to come. I ended up painting it, and someone told me that that's the way the Bible describes it. He's going to come. He's going to come that way. Okay, right here, the apple is like a crystal ball, and I had no idea that I was going to do that. And what happened is that every time I'm told by God to do something to it, he tells me to make it colorful, more color. And I couldn't interpret it. I couldn't figure out what he wanted. So I just kept painting on it, and it gradually began to turn to a crystal ball. And so when I realized that, I started more, I really got a crystal ball and looked at it, and to make sure that it did do a crystal ball effect. And so she's walking from the Garden of Eden over here, represented by the gold, and then she steps in the world that we know, which is death and destruction. And we were born here, so this eggshell represents that. And the dice are, life is a throw of the dice for us. And so we need to be prayed up all the time. We have to pray every minute, literally. Something else that's interesting about it. Right here I have my name, and my name is Donald Neal. And of course, when I put my name on here, I usually sign as Neal. And if it's Neal, it kind of sounds like the picture's telling you to kneel. So literally, it seems as if I was born to paint this picture. Talking of that, I was born in the ghetto, 6th Street of Belle Glade, right, that's the dead center of the ghetto, about as worse as about as bad as you can get, actually. And there's a fig tree that grew behind the building that I was born in, and I would see this tree all the time because I was a young artist. I knew about the fig leaves, and I knew the fig tree when I saw it. And so the fig tree was like this big my whole life. It was just a small tree, and when I got grown, it was still the same size and still in the same spot. So when I went to find leaves to put on Eve, that's where I got the leaves from, and I used them on her. And later on, like at the end of this painting, I thought I was finished with it, but God tells me to do this, and I don't want to do it. And so I actually wouldn't do it for a couple of months. That I'm feeling that He wants me to do it, but I don't want to do it because I'm working for years on this thing. I ain't making no money. My mama has passed, and I'm sort of mad with God a little bit, and so I wouldn't do anything He told me. So a couple of months go by, and He tells me again to do this. He tells me over and over and over to do it. I'm still fighting it. I don't want to do it, and so one day he just he hit me in the head and told me, do the fig leaves and put them here. And so I go to the fig tree and I pick out 3 of the limbs, and I put eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I pick one of them and I painted it without counting the leaves, and there turned out to be 7 leaves after I got it done. And there's 7s everywhere. I've already said that, but there's 7 here. 7 women, 10 in all in terms of people, and 3 men. And the 7, I'm going to point a few of them out. Ashamed has 7 letters, and you need it for this painting. Genesis, 7 letters, and you need it for that area, because that's what we have to do now. We have to read the Bible. And epitaph means that we're going to die, so it's needed for the painting. But yet it's 7 letters in all of them. Adam, Eve, 7 letters. The 2 sons, Cain and Abel, fighting in the water, 7 letters for them. And there's 7 leaves here. There's a girl showed me there was 7 eyelashes, and so I started to count. I started to look really tight after she showed me that, and I saw 7 eyelashes on the other side of her. Also, my son showed me 7 leaves behind Adam, and I didn't know it till he showed it to me. There's 7 mountains there. Then there's 7 in the words up here. There's a word up here you can clearly see that says you, but when you look in a mirror, and it'll turn to love. So there's 7 letters in that also. There's 7 body parts of this dragonfly. I can go on and on. I won't go no further with that. But and this is how where the definite destruction would start. And I did not realize, even though I painted it, that this was like dirty water, like rotted water. And here's the clean, fresh water over here, and then it turns dirty over there. I didn't notice it when I was doing it. But one of the things I want to make sure I say about it, this is something that happened in the case where I wanted to paint something that I wanted on it, and I put it right here. I put a, what was it? Praying mantis, yeah. Yeah, I put a praying mantis there. Kind of almost forgot it. But anyway, I put a praying mantis there, and I asked God, can I do it? And he said no. Literally, he never said anything to me about it. And so I went ahead and put it on because I wanted to do it. And my son was like 6 years old. He came into the studio, and I couldn't wait to show it to him. And I showed it to him, and he walked by it and didn't really look at it. And he's like 7 years old, and I'm telling you to do something, you ain't gonna do it. I got mad with him. And I started to chastise him about it. And by the time I called his name, he hit the table with his hands, and he said, Dad, you keep it on if you want to, but I said, take it off. And so, of course, I took it off. And I interpret that to be that God worked through him to tell me, you can't put nothing on here unless I want it. And so I didn't throughout the rest of the painting, I never questioned it. I just did whatever came to me to do in terms of God telling me, I'm assuming. The big leaves that are on the right side, in this area here, God asked me to go back and look at the tree, and the tree, I assumed the tree was going to be gone, and it was gone. The impression that the tree would have been there, and there was no sign that the tree was ever there. It's so as if it was there only for me to use it. Another thing, her hand is covering her navel, and one of the things that God wants us to know that these things are impossible literally for a man to think about or do. If you have when you go back and look in the history books that artists that have painted Adam and Eve, they always show the navel. This is the first time the navel is not shown, and that should tell everybody that God exists. Because no man can really think to do that. You can listen to my talk, I can't think of it. So it's on the painting, and I put it there, but I didn't realize it until the picture was done. In fact, somebody pointed it out too. I didn't know until somebody told me. And one of the other things that's kind of interesting, you see the leaf right here. When I decided to put that leaf there, I was told to do it, and I had no idea that I should do it. I was told, God told me a few times to do it, and I still wouldn't do it. So eventually I went ahead and did it, and he also told me to do this leaf like that. And those leaves are so creative in terms of, because I didn't know at the time I did them that they're gonna cover her butt and then cover her breast. And no artist had thought to do that as well. So it boils down to be a picture that's totally too too smart for a normal person to do. And so literally everything on there is totally impossible for a human to think of. And I'm nowhere near the brain to think of the stuff that I put on there. And also her body's sweaty. That was intentional in terms of what God wanted to happen, in terms of where she's a human now. And she's going to go through. Oh, right, this good thing here. Those leaves, when I first put them there, I'd already did Adam, and God kept telling me to do that, and I didn't want to do what I said earlier. But later on, when I got it done, maybe 2 months later, God told me they were going to Adam, and it made total sense that it would do it, and of course, who could think of it though? So that's another one of the things that shows that God had to do it. And who's going to think that Adam and Eve is going to come to him later? Also realize this, so these leaves are dying, and she's already did it. She already bit the apple, and he just bit it, and he just realized what's going to happen. And she knows all of the sadness that's going to come from it. And looking at her face and just show that, so I think I'm done with it.
You were born in Belle Glade, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you create art that centers around Belle Glade?
My growing up in Belle Glade is a lot of farm work, a lot of everybody I knew worked on the farms and stuff. I worked on the farms, and I watched, you're picking the harvest and stuff, and I don't want to relive that by painting it. And because when I'm painting, I don't like to paint in the first place, and so I'm definitely not going to paint nothing that I don't want to paint, and so I don't want to paint that. And when I do paint, I paint surreal stuff that's like in your fantasies, in your dreams, and so I kind of stay with that kind of happy stuff just slightly. It's happy, but I use dark colors. That's one thing that I do seem to be do naturally. I like to see colors, but I never use them.
Do you have any advice for artists in Belle Glade or in the Glades area?
The one thing that I find that young artists should learn early as possible is that if you make a mistake, try to correct it. Don't let it stay on the thing that you're doing. Correct any mistakes that you make. You're going to learn from those mistakes, and I guess take all the classes that you can, and you'll never learn everything you need to know, so you just keep trying to learn. And there's so many areas of art, and you'll never learn them all, so try anyway, and you'll get far in terms of the different things you'll be able to do as an artist. And literally, you'll need it all, because if you can do it all, you'll be more happy doing it, because you know as much as you can put in your brain. So do all you can, paint all you can, draw all you can, and don't be embarrassed to ask. In my case, there's a lot of artists here, but they never ask me for advice in terms of looking at their work and giving them my thoughts on it. And so I see that a lot here. None of the artists here, I'm going to say it straight up, never ask me how I did whatever. And they can't do it, but then they don't want to learn to do it. And so I find that strange. I don't really know how to answer that. I don't know. I even taught at the college and had to drop the class because nobody wanted to take it. All the artists told me they would take it. I sound like I'm ratting a little bit, but they all said they were going to take my class. None of them took it, and so my class had to end.
Thank you so much for doing this interview with me.
Mm.